Doctor Who might be dead, but we're going to talk about it anyway. We need to try really hard this episode not to repeat everything we said in our last season wrap-up review, because everything we said in that episode also applies to this episode.
If we were like Russell, we would just simply insert that.
Should just completely copy it, because it's insane how similar it is. We did say that this season probably would fall victim to the same issues because it was filmed almost immediately after. He didn't have any time to reflect on it. He basically wrote a 16-episode season and shit them both out at the same time.
Basically, yeah.
And it shows, because everything wrong with this season is wrong with season 1. The only bright spot is, I guess, Belinda for about 2 or 3 episodes.
Yes.
And then she ends up being the worst thing because they completely retcon her to absolute shit.
And then they literally, in world retcon her, the Doctor forces a baby upon her.
Yep, it's rough.
I think this is one of the most uninteresting Doctors I've ever came across. There's nothing about him. I think Paul McGann's one tenure in that one fairly crap American pilot movie was a better run than all of Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah, it pretty much boils down to RTD is bad.
And he is the person to focus on here.
Yes, we'll try to go deeper in than just the fact that he's bad and keeps repeating himself. There's a few things to touch on, and we might as well start with the fact that the show kind of looks funny and people are starting to notice because it's overproduced now, and it feels like it's made the same way the actual writing is. The visuals are made as content, so everything is framed a bit wider. When you crop in from 16:9, which is TV aspect ratio, when you then take that and you try to crop that into a TikTok screen so that you can put out the regeneration, you can't be too close to any character. Otherwise, you end up having their entire face cover the frame. So you need to be wider. So everything needs to be shot flatter, more boring. A couple of really good examples. The Bone Palace, I think, is one of the worst things. People have been pointing out the blocking. We had a comment saying, can you talk about the blocking of the episode? Those that don't know, blocking is basically...
Character positioning, yeah.
Yes, it's their positioning in the scene. So basically, I like to view it as the way that the characters kind of like dance around with the cameras.
And it all has to be kind of pre-planned because the way the camera is pulling focus... The actors need to be in the agreed upon positions.
Yes. You can do interesting blocking and you can do boring blocking. And one of the main things a TV director brings to a production is blocking, because they don't control the scripts, they barely control the performance, because they've rocked up after the table read.
You're coming into a well-oiled machine. They're doing this all year, and then you're just happen to be the director of this episode.
Yeah, you get to bring the blocking, you get to bring the style of the episode, and you can do some really interesting things, or you can do really boring things. The Reality War in the Bone Palace, still a hilarious name, is one of the best examples of how goddamn boring this show looks. Because you have this super cool set. It looks fantastic. Yeah. Like, they've spent all their money on this set. It's got wire work, it's in a big studio, but then all the characters are just standing in the background in a flat wide. I get it, you want to show off your big production value, but nothing in the scene is interesting, and everything is shot so that when I crop in on Instagram, everyone has their own little moment and they can set. Because there's so many interesting moments going back to old Who.
By old Who, you mean 2005?
2005.
Yeah.
With New Who, because we're watching it currently.
Oh.
The cameras look like shit. They had to use beta cams.
Yeah, because this was back before HD cameras were used by the BBC. Like, they're videotape cameras, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're Sony beta cams. They're basically news cameras. You had to be smart about it because the actual image coming out of the camera wasn't pretty. It looked not great. So there is a big over-reliance on RGB lights and stuff. Like, they'll just blast it with a yellow light because they make it look interesting. They had characters able to dance around the lens. So many good examples of blocking. I'll try to whack some in here. You don't want to just pick up your camera, move it, because that's expensive. You don't have money to do that. You're on a shoestring budget with the BBC. Whereas with this, they seem to have so much money that they spend it all on sets, and then they just think we can do multiple setups per day. And it's not an efficient way of making TV. And it's not an interesting way of making TV.
The Every Frame a Painting video where he talks about how Jackie Chan doesn't cut. He just simply, you want to see the action happen. And one of the fights in Karate Kid very much was this like high level of cutting. You never really get the sense of like, so they're flipping, but we're cutting every 4 seconds. So I don't get that movement, that sense. Even when we were watching Ballerina last week, they at least knew to like, let the camera sit. Let's see some of this movement, because that's what makes it interesting.
Another gross example is the unit set. So unit can kind of be compared to Torchwood. The Torchwood set, which has multiple different rooms, you've got a big spiral staircase in the middle, you've got your designated wide, it looks cool. Whereas the unit set is a big empty room with some desks in it. The only interesting thing they can think to do is to have Mel drive down this accessibility ramp on her moped. Like, that's the coolest thing they can do with that scene.
I mean, the TARDIS in this, it's so boring and we barely get a sense of place. I thought things were going to be added to it. Like, we have the jukebox, which doesn't mean much.
You used it once, maybe?
My favourite TARDIS is Paul McGann's TARDIS. I love that TARDIS.
That's so gross. It's just
it's a front room. He's an old professor. It's got a carpet. It's good.
Most people's favourite TARDIS is Capaldi's, because you've got the staircase, you can walk up, you can walk around it. Whereas the only thing they can think of to do in this new TARDIS set, because it is so big and so boring, and like you can't get under it, Matt Smith and David Tennant would be under it.
Matt Smith, when he's like tinkering and then he's talking them up through the platform and stuff.
You show them. Yeah. Whereas in this, it's so gargantuan that you just end up having one transition shot to change outfits. Yeah. And that's what they nail down on. And each director does it. So it's not even like a director bringing their own pizzazz. It's like it was designed so that you can do this. And that's boring. And another problem with the massively overproduced season is the flat lighting. Like, just look at this room right now. Like, that is just perfectly flat, beautiful lighting coming from absolutely every direction because they have so much money. They've just rigged up every single light. Oh, God, just in Rose, that really long shot that's just the Doc and Rose walking down from her unit all the way down the street. It's just a guy walking backwards on a Steadicam.
I wonder if that was just a practical thing in the day. We don't have enough time to get this on all the angles. We're just going to have to do it in one.
Yeah, it's not exactly an example of blocking, but realistically, it is an efficient way of telling that story.
Well, she grabs the hand when she wants to take control of the conversation. Yeah. It's a small thing, but they did something.
They do stuff. And actually, my favorite example of blocking is when you get the mouse and you like drag it over the subscribe button and you're like, they're in the same shot together. And if you click, you subscribe. This has a lot of the problems that The Last of Us 2 has, where these people aren't inhabiting the scene. They've got these big grand sets and they're just standing in the middle of it. Yeah. The TARDIS also has the massive flat lighting problem. It looks cool, but you have a fuck ton of LED 360 lights blasting down on this scene all at once, and everything is just perfectly smooth and flat. They turn the lights orange when Jodie rocks up for her little regeneration pep talk.
Yeah.
And people freaked the fuck out on the internet.
Because it resembles her lighting.
It looked different. It looked a bit moodier. It looked homey. And people were like, this is the coolest thing ever. And it's like, they have all this money and there's just no drama in the scenes.
Yes. There's no drama visually and there's no drama actually like narratively.
Correct. Because everyone's best friends, which they did in the first season. We hammered it from
the first appearance.
From Church on Ruby Road.
And apparently they were told by the director that you two are being too buddy-buddy, pally-pally. Yep. And they had to be like, oh yeah, they have only just met.
Didn't we get a note that we were almost too
familiar? Yeah. We were playing Shooty and Millie as opposed to Doctor and Ruby.
And watching fucking season 1 of Rose and how there is this immediate like, who are you? Why the fuck have I gone on this fucking thing with you? Yeah. And I know there's this not wanting to retread old things, but you know, it had been 20 years. It might have been okay to retread a few things.
Maybe retread that. I don't remember. We'll get to it when we get to series 2, but I don't remember David Tennant clashing with everyone this hard.
In his first episode, the Harriet, like, don't you think she looks tired?
Eccleston fights with Rose every episode. Like, they have a little mini falling out almost every episode because they're not the same person. They don't agree on everything. Whereas in this, we get the tiniest bit of fire from Belinda in episodes 1 and 2, and I actually really enjoyed some of the fire they bring. So in Lux, for instance.
Lux?
Should we talk about Lux?
What episode is that?
Should we talk about Lux?
Yeah, Lux. Yeah, we should do. You're actually Trojan horsing. This is actually a deep dive into Lux.
Oh God, it's a whole Lux review.
So,
I swear we'll talk about it.
We did film a review of it. Shark horror. He betrayed you. We did film it.
It's like it's me like keeping it to myself. It's the missing episode from the classic series. It's me just hoarding it.
It is flattering that 12 people want to know our opinion on an average episode of Doctor Who. Yeah.
Because it's a segregated cafe, she gets pretty upset that that's not cool. She's a modern woman. She doesn't like being segregated.
Yep.
And the doctor's like, we don't have time for this right now. We're busy. I've toppled worlds. Sometimes I want to let a world deal with its own problems. And I'm like, boom, love it. That's how we deal with race now. Fuck it.
Or we could just put on the camouflage button, but whatever.
Or we could turn on the non-racial disguise perception filter. She gets really upset that the TARDIS is in her head and that he scans her, which is exactly the same thing Rose does in series 1.
Yep.
She's like, wait, the TARDIS is in my head without my permission. So part of it makes me be like, oh, that's kind of dampened the fact I liked Belinda doing that because Rose already did that, and I know that Russell is just repeating himself.
Although Belinda's not going to say so gay.
Just so gay.
Ruby and the Doctor never had that kind of relationship, so I thought that was going to be fantastic. But then from the well onwards, she kind of starts declining in her fire.
Then we're being told that any episode that wasn't penned by Russell, at least the writer for Eurovision said, oh, I was just told it's an assistant called Belinda.
Yeah.
And so that's why there isn't much there.
Same with story in the engine.
Which leads to your theory of maybe this was meant to be a Ruby full series, and because Ruby has all the important things to do in the finale.
She gets Lucky Day. It feels like it so many times, but then also I can't rectify that with the fact that she is in the table read for the finale, like months and months before filming, and she's happy. She's sitting next to Ncuti. Because, like, the tabloids did say, oh, she got fired. But I can't rectify that with the fact that she is in so much of the season.
Yeah.
Like, why would she be in so much of it? And in the next room, while they're filming...
Rose, the only one who went 2 seasons. He had a new... David had a new assistant every season.
Yeah.
So I can understand that maybe that's just Russell's style, like it's a fresh body in.
Or maybe he thought, her arc was done. But then halfway through writing the second season, he was like, oh, isn't it interesting if I bring her back? Because he needed someone not hanging out with the Doctor.
Yeah, because he did that with Martha. And
yeah, like he's done it before.
I remember the initial idea was, were they going to like switch? Like he'd drop Belle off and go on one with Ruby.
It kind of seemed like they were all going to be in it for a while as well, like a little threesome. But then also they're too friendly with each other again, so it would just be 3 best friends.
Rather than some of the best stuff of Doctor Who, where it's 11, Rory and Amy, which is...
Yes, where he's a funny little uncle and just like hanging around.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys are doing what in my back room?
Yeah.
You're making my future wife what? The guest writers only knew that she was a nurse and she was 30 and her name was Belinda. So we go the first 3 episodes with a fairly strong Belinda. Like she's doing things, in fairness, belaboring the fact that she's a nurse a little too heavy. Like she's constantly like, anyone gets any little injury, she's like, don't worry, everyone step aside. I am a nurse.
Yeah.
I will heal you. Like the Doctor gets a burnt and she's like, hold up.
The Doctor is a doctor of everything. As Captain Holt said, because the word doctor has been co-opted by medical. Yeah, so it's my favourite Captain Holt moment.
Then we delete her completely.
Yeah.
Almost completely. For episode 4, Lucky Day, where that's its whole bullshit that we talked about. But then episode 6... we get the story of the engine, which completely deletes her again. And she's just kind of like standing in the background of the Doctor the whole time. Because Inua Willems didn't know who the fuck she was.
And didn't know sci-fi.
And also she's not part of that community. And it was a very community-focused episode. It was very much like, this is my Nigerian barbershop episode. And then this Southeast Asian woman comes in and kind of bumbles her way through the town. That's all he could think of doing with her.
Yep.
Even though she says in the intro that she goes back to India with her mum. It's very similar, like busy streetwise to what they were showing me Lagos was like. They could have done something interesting where she knows how to navigate a busy street, but instead she bumbles her way through because he knew nothing about her. And then Interstellar Song Contest, she stands in a hallway because Juno Williams didn't know what the fuck to do with her. She whinges a bit, I guess. Like she literally does nothing that episode.
Yep.
By that point, I'm like, all right, Belle is pointless. And then we get an absolute butchery of her character.
Whatever character was there. Yeah.
Well, the one thing we knew about her was that she's self-sufficient and strong. Like,
yes.
He does this a lot, doesn't he? He like starts off with a really strong character and then just dilutes her.
Martha is a whole one where he makes her a lovesick puppy.
So he kind of did the same thing here, where he just slowly makes her compromise on all of her character before making her the exact opposite, which could be something interesting if she were to fight her way out of it, because she's now a housewife. She never wanted to be. She's a career woman. She wants to help as many people as possible and heal them.
Yeah.
That's her whole thing. And then suddenly like, oh, you are a mum now.
So what I'm seeing with the great leaker Andrew, whatever his name is.
I think the leaker Andrew is Russell T Davies, or he is the CIA agent that has been tasked to like bug his laptop.
Because the ending of this season is so messy and god-awful that you forced motherhood upon one character, like something that she showed no interest in. So roommates that existed are no longer there, because I think she has roommates.
And she somehow owns a whole house
She
now.
owns a whole house now. And then, even though we shouldn't view it this way, but since Russell brings up a lot of social commentary, a lot of, rights of people, you're then seeing the first Black Doctor run out his child, basically.
The Doctor commits suicide to make his best friend a single mother.
Yes.
And it's like, he does what?
Yeah.
Like,
and
and
then he turns into a woman who was the first assistant to the new era.
Yes.
Since, from what we understand, they were reshooting February, and the leaker says that Ncuti got angsty waiting around because Doctor Who took up a lot of his time, and he wants to go and be Chris Marlowe in a play.
He wants to go on Broadway again, but there's also, apparently he got offered a perfume commercial that would have paid an entire year's salary of Doctor Who, and he had to turn that down because he was on hold for filming.
Yeah, absolutely understandable.
A lot of that ending, as soon as he gets back with Belinda, was reshot. So it seems the way that it was supposed to go was that...
He's pretending.
Yes, he was pretending that Poppy never existed.
Yes.
And because there's a wink at Ruby, and it's like, it feels like he's just trying to protect Belinda's feelings.
And how he's pained. Like, I think you're, like, he's really trying to lay it on thick. Like, I think you're just confused, Ruby.
Gaslighting the fuck out of her.
And I'm sure Russell, there we go, was probably pulling his hair out going, God damn, that was a good ending that
but
I now
I don't
have
think
to...
he had to change it that much. I don't think you had to completely flip it so much.
But then he has to come up with a reason for him to regenerate, which can be anything. But
Literally, he doesn't need to kill himself to make Belinda the single mum. Like, the things he chose was weird. The original ending sounds better from the Belinda end, where he's not gaslighting her so hard, because it's insane how much he gaslights. And it makes us kind of hate this Doctor in his last 10 minutes. And it's like, what the fuck are they doing? But Poppy was actually the Doctor's real daughter and Susan's mum.
hence why Susan was maybe seeded.
Yes, because in the original ending, while they're having that May Day parade dance, basically Susan is standing in the background with Poppy holding her hand, and she says, "Come on, Mum, let's go." So then Susan and Poppy leave, and it's a big like, oh my God, it was her real mum. I don't think you had to take that ending away, or just don't show the regeneration, because surely in the future, like for season 3, you could have a regeneration scene. Like, because they don't know when it's coming back, I don't know. I feel like there were other options, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are pretty happy that the Susan and Poppy thing was deleted, because it contradicts so many things he's said throughout the history.
Timeless Child, all that stuff it's all just a big fuck off now.
Making his actual only real daughter, according to him, be a magical wish world that was like against his will, that was also bad because it made him heteronormative in this like bad world. So she was part of that. And now she is also Susan's mum. Like, it got really weird and kind of shitty. And I'm glad that's gone. But I'm not glad that we lose Susan entirely.
Yeah.
Because this woman that like started Doctor Who came in the final cut, filmed 2 sentences in front of the TARDIS, and then fucked off forever. If she was in the finale, Interstellar Song Contest makes a slight amount more sense with her randomly appearing.
Yeah.
But because she doesn't rock up at all, it's insane. And there's no way you couldn't use some of that.
But Rogue means nothing. Horrible green screen.
They filmed that when they filmed his episode.
Somehow communicating from hell. Just garbage. Absolute shit.
And that's the thing. It's like, why would you keep that and delete something that seemed more like needed? Like, why not just have Susan film again in front of a green screen saying, "Hey, Doctor, something's fucking wrong"?
I think there's all little things that we can bring up about this tenure so far of RTD2. He's generating things for content. Even the visuals are trying to lead towards a shareability. The first time we saw David Tennant's 14 was in the Red Nose Day little special, where he comes in on the invention of the Dalek, and it's a little joke, haha. The practicalities of not wanting Davros in the thing was obvious, because we're only doing a special. It'd be a lot of effort to do that for a special.
4 or 5 hours in a makeup
Yeah, so
chair.
how about we just have him walk around? But then, instead of that just being the reason, Russell goes, actually, we're going to make sure that disabled people aren't evil. It's a horrible stigma, ignoring Professor X. and all that, like ignoring like
We're going to make
shiny...
sure that nothing looks like a gun. The thing is a remote.
Yeah, but then we're going to make the what's it called?
We're going to make the Vindicator a gun.
We were going to give it a magazine at the top.
In season 1, where they give the kids guns, they hire
The
15-year-olds.
Segway has a gun, yeah.
Just nothing makes sense, and it feels like he should just not be allowed to talk.
And then, you know, why did David regenerate? His clothes regenerate. But he said at the time, oh, it's because, you know, a man in woman's clothing, even though Jodie's outfit is a gender-neutral outfit, but then we'll have a man, even though it's a kilt kind of, we'll have a man in a dress as that, and then we'll have Billy be in that dress. But, I mean, right intentions, but we're going back ourselves. We're an out-of-touch man in his 60s. You know, did you see when they were interviewing her for the special, they asked her, would you ever want to come back? And she has a little slip. And she says, it's really fun being back, or it would be. Like, she has to catch herself.
I don't know whether that was filmed before or after, though, is my only thought. It's kind of dumb that the overarching theme of these 2 seasons have been like, oh, gods are real now. But then they barely use it.
There's been moments where we've touched on gods.
Yes,
in
most
the past.
of the time it's like gods are aliens, or occasionally gods are too complex to explain.
Like, we still don't even know what, officially, we don't know what that demon thing is in season 2 when he goes all the way down.
And people accept it
Yeah.
because you don't need to. Whereas he's like over-explained fantasy and twisted the show into it to try to like let himself get away with even worse Deus Ex Machinas than he used to. Because like Donnie used to flick some switches and drag the earth by a tether that was magical through space. Whereas now they just tie a collar to a dog that's also a god of death and then drag him. Realistically, those 2 things are quite similar. Like beep,
Yeah,
beep, beep.
But
versus,
how they present the one.
yeah, it just feels stupid. And that we've met the god of death, Sutek, who again wasn't a god, but
Who
is now
became
suddenly
a god. Yeah, it just felt, when he was saying that, just super flippant. Like,
Yeah,
just,
that's the thing. It doesn't make sense, so we don't accept it. And then we had The Devil's Cord, which is one of people's favorite episode. Jinx Monsoon was kind of the most realized god, mainly because she was just another variant of the Toymaker, basically, who was something we already accepted.
Most of this era, yeah, I suppose you end up with Devil's Cord being fairly up there.
Yeah, it helped that it was like double play with space babies too. The Toymaker, who again is a celestial, barely counts as a god. We meet Lux, who is kind of a god, also just for that episode. It's weird that they're such big concepts. It's like, this is a
they're
god.
getting wiped out in an episode.
Mr. Ring-a-Ding gets introduced and defeated in like the space of 10 minutes of screen time. Like, that's the kind of thing that they keep doing. And then we get Omega, which is the same as Sutek, who isn't a god, but is now suddenly a god because of magical reasons. And again, we defeat with some bullshit.
And then Rani, just how ridiculous that the Rani returns. And it's just kind of tossed aside. Like, it's just there for content.
Yeah.
Just so we can say, hey, name recognition.
She gets deleted so quickly. You can't give the new Rani even a full episode because she's at the very tail end of Interstellar Song Contest. And then she makes a couple of appearances in Wish World at her desk being evil, and then suddenly dies in Wish World. It's like, that's not even a full episode runtime.
And when you think about just how many minutes John Sim had on camera in season 3
and how much you reveled in them.
and just how much that version is kind of stuck in everyone's head that I can think of those scenes.
And then Missy especially.
Oh yeah, with Missy too. She's like another iconic version. And I forget what the other fella did, the Jodie Doctor, the Jodie Master.
Spy Master is his affectionate nickname. But yeah, so it's like he changed the entire identity of the show only to not use it in any kind of good way. I'm like, cool, glad we did this. Glad you kind of butchered it in the minds of anyone that came across this show new.
Well, as we said, he wished world Doctor Who, because you watch this squeaky clean version of reality. I mean, it's in the forefront of my mind now, but Jackie Tyler slapped the Doctor for taking her away without really consulting it, and that being a big part of it. Like, you're just going to take her across space and time. Ruby has her mum, ostensibly, but her mum seemed completely relaxed with the Doctor coming and going as he pleased. And
And then Belinda references her family a lot, but we never see them. They cast her dad. Like, they did a big casting announcement of,
really?
yeah, this actor that everyone knows is her dad.
And he never rocked up?
No, because he was cut. He was in the finale.
Oh.
He was cut in that last 20 minutes, which means even in that finale, he rocks up for 2 minutes and goes, I love you, Belinda. Here's a song on karaoke that we talked about.
But it's weird out because that was such a thing of his era. Like,
He did family stuff.
Martha in season 3, they go back for the Lazarus episode.
Yeah, it didn't work nearly as well for Martha.
No, but
but she still had a more fleshed out family
And
than
same,
anyone.
obviously, with with Catherine Tate. Donna still went back and
It
did
worked
stuff
much better with that.
It's crazy that never occurred here with the Doctor going back to modern day to help. Well, he does in the end every time. He goes back to the modern day at the end to solve a problem.
Yeah, to solve the season
It's
arc.
crazy just how similar both finales feel. Like, just particularly with a big CG monster being easily defeated, but just how they actually are. We're back in London. It's all at unit base.
And he wrote them at the same time. So, like, if anyone was going to realize they were similar, you would think it's the guy that has to hand in these two scripts that are identical at the same time and be like, cool, start producing them. No one along the way said, hey, should we not do this?
He must have been right. He mustn't have had much time, because it is wild just how little. It's crazy how with less budget and a more stressful time, this whole team was making a more immersive experience with the worlds they were creating.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same exact soundstage every time, you've managed to immerse me.
Yep. Another weird thing about both seasons, realistically, is no historical figures. Yes, the Beatles.
Yeah.
But it's four people that kind of look like the Beatles, but also they're not pivotal to that episode at all.
They're just there.
Yeah, they, I guess, kill Maestro from memory, actually, because they put in the right notes at the last minute, maybe?
Yeah, he remembers. Yeah, they remember. But still, it's...
But, like, compare that to even an episode you haven't seen, but in Jodie's era, she meets Nikola Tesla.
I saw that clip of him. He knows how the TARDIS works, which I like.
And Edison in the same episode.
She got to meet loads.
And they're in a massive portion. Because, yes, that was one of Chibber's things. He was like, I need to take it back to historicals. Unfortunately, he didn't do what I want, where back in the day we used to have historicals that didn't involve aliens. Whereas I think he wanted to, but there was some kind of scared...
You must have alien.
You must have a racist from the future.
Yeah.
Like, they stopped doing that because it kept flopping, basically. Like,
people wanted the aliens and the zip.
yeah, but that was also the 60s, my guys. Like,
yeah.
Just because it stopped working then doesn't mean it can't work modern day.
What you get instead, you get gods.
You get a lack of iconography entirely, because I can't think of a single silhouette from this season that would stand out to me, whereas you get Daleks and Cybermen instantly recognizable.
But then even you get like the Slovene or the Ood or all these things that are still like carry through they carry through modern Who.
Season 1, nothing really stands out. Season 2, we did get Mr. Ring-a-Ding and Lux, who did break into the mainstream. Like, the BBC released a YouTube video with a killer thumbnail that was scary cartoon comes to life, and it was him, and like that's exactly what dumb brain TikTok wants. So they're like, oh, it's like the spooky things. 73 Yards kind of did a little bit because it's like unexplained mysteries, but then weird politics. Whereas they should have just kept it as like, not just in the pub, but kept it Welsh folklore. Keep it folklore and spooky.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, oh, she decides to do politics stuff. Also, there's a woman in the background staring at her. Like, they forget their own premise again.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a hard idea that you couldn't figure out how to finish. We also get Dugadoo this season. Dugadoo broke into the mainstream as well. They were doing the 24-hour live, and then Dugadoo's hit song, Subadoo, subscribe.
That's
oh, no.
good. I'll give you that.
Okay. I was like, that was garbage.
No, that was good.
That had basically nothing to do with any writer.
The VFX just having fun.
VFX having fun, and Murray Gold has like a synthesizer. It's a voice. It's fun and funny.
I know there's going to be some people who think this era is amazing. I know they're probably being the minority, but like when I look back on this era, I can't think of anything. And then when I'm watching this older stuff now, it's like immediately, it's like even episodes that at the time I maybe wouldn't have thought much of, I now greatly appreciate because I've just sat through this rubbish. So now that I'm watching, the Slovene take over Downing Street, I'm like, oh, this is actually all right.
Yeah.
Like, after what we've just sat through.
And it's camp in a fun way. Like, I feel like this season is just kind of dumb.
Yeah, and I guess the 15th Doctor is not an interesting Doctor.
No, not really.
I think Ncuti has a good Doctor in him. I think he's a very talented actor, but the writing and direction did him no favours.
I think he didn't bring anything apart from himself. So he didn't bring any interesting arc, and the writers didn't bring anything either. They didn't like come up with anything together. Because like with Eccleston, Russell did a little bit at the end there fall back into his old ways of, shit, he needs an arc. I'm going to make him the last of the Time Lords, and he's going to be really dark and harrowing. which worked for 9, and that was perfect for 9. 10 had his thing going. 11 was the young, childish doctor that was...
Old professor in a young student's body.
Yeah, which was like workshopped between Moffat and just Matt Smith kind of emanated that because he was 26.
Yeah.
And you would not know it apart from the fact he looks like a literal baby. Like this man could have appeared in Space Babies and we'd be fine with it.
But then also just that there was no layers or choices in it. Like he's the silly old kooky doctor, but then in his season finale, he has that speech where he tells all the aliens to stop, stop because I'm talking.
Yeah.
I mean, even in his intro, when he brings them back and like, to use what the kids say, aura farms with the with the projection.
Waits for his perfect moment,
basically
steps
run,
through.
like showing that. And then David Tennant, no second chances. We'll have fun.
In his first episode.
But in his first episode. So we have fun. And then Eccleston will leave Rose if he annoys her. He's like, yeah, fuck off.
Every
I'm going.
episode. He's like, bitch, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
I am 900 years old, which is why it's so insane that 15 and Belinda are getting along, or Ruby are getting along. He's 2,000 or 3,000 by this point.
Yeah.
He's experienced everything.
But that's it. Like, we're watching the good stuff right now, where you're like this natural friendship that's coming through, that you completely buy that these two are clicking, and that there is that. So when he becomes the 10th Doctor, it works in the sense that he's become the man he needs to be to love the 19-year-old. But still, like, Ncuti has nothing going on at all. Like,
it's literally just Ncuti.
Yeah, just being
which
fun.
Is charming.
For one, or like, when's the most I enjoyed him? In the first episode when he's running along the rooftop, and then he's like figuring out how the strings work and how fun that is. But to have him like never tinker, to never sit I'm sure there are moments that I'm now forgetting.
In episode 2, just before Lux with Belinda, he rolls out from underneath the TARDIS.
Oh, okay.
But that's like literally 3 seconds, and then he stands up, pulls one lever, and that's them landing.
Ncuti's Doctor, for me, as dumb as this sounds, didn't feel clever.
Yeah, that's fair.
I felt like all the other ones before have felt they've come across as like the professor, the student, the something. So for him to just come across as this like, well, there's nothing to him. It's just a nice guy, like who happens to be a time traveler.
Yep.
With Davis, it feels like all his doctors, like he was only the 10th Doctor for about 3 years of his life.
Yeah.
I feel like he was probably only the 15th Doctor for 1 year.
Breaking news, Doctor Who is now a show for babies because we're doing a CBeebies thing.
So there's a thing now with the future of Doctor Who that the BBC, that Disney are maybe stepping away.
Yeah, well, the BBC refuses to say anything. We've had nothing official come out of them.
The rumor
The
is...
CBeebies have announced that they're doing a Doctor Who show as a cartoon. We don't know which Doctor or whether it's going to be an original Doctor.
Yeah.
But great idea because you get that iconography of the Daleks and stuff into kids' heads.
Yeah.
And then they watch the show when they're actually older. And it's like, wow, genius idea. Like, it literally works for everything else. Like, just look at how much money Peppa Pig and Bluey roll in. I'm just imagining a world where the adult Doctor Who is funded by the child Doctor Who because it makes so much merch money.
And I could see the logic because he's a character who can like go back in time and talk about history. Like he works well as a...
And he's kooky. Like there's so many options. Yeah, and apart from that, apparently the Disney deal has fallen through and Amazon Prime or similar level to Disney Plus, which there's only really 3. Like HBO Max doesn't even come close, so it mustn't be them. So it's either Netflix or Amazon, realistically. Yeah. Or Apple would be insane.
But Apple wouldn't. No.
But also they do spend a shit ton of money on not much.
On their own things. They're just making original programming all the time.
They wouldn't be the worst. But apparently they're in talks, but they want more creative control, which isn't a bad idea.
Which sounds like Amazon because they've just had that whole thing with the James Bond MGM stuff. To be honest with you, like if Bezos or whatever it is, I'd be happy to have just someone else have a go just because Russell's had a second bite at the apple and it's shockingly bad.
Well, apparently Russell's fighting the deal. Again, fighting.
Why? Because he wants to keep his control.
Whether it's his control or whether he just doesn't want to give creative control to a big conglomerate.
While he works for the fucking BBC. Yeah, okay.
According to Russell, he has written most of season 3 and most of season 4, which is an awful thing because that means he's just going to be grafting that character onto whoever ends up being the Doctor rather than letting them breathe.
I think Billie Piper's a very good actress and could be a good Doctor.
I think the reason no one's going after Billie is because we all know that she's not the problem here. We know that she is a good actor and that she probably would make a good doctor. It's just we're smelling the blood in the water, the desperation.
Yeah.
Where, like, she wasn't chosen for the right reasons.
Yeah, because the first woman doctor became David. Now the first black doctor, who's openly gay character and actor, is now being converted into.
Yeah, it feels like desperation after.
It's sad.
Yes,
it's quite
disappointing and sad.
It's pathetic.
Because, like, Billy was just roped in, thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah, and the idea of Billy as a doctor, I'm like, that could work. That could be good if it's written well, if it's all this done well. It only means something to the audience.
Yeah.
And she even looks at us. She breaks the fourth wall, which
is
we
never
neglected
explained.
to mention.
Yeah.
It's this continued joke of breaking the fourth wall for no real reason, unless there's some season 3, 4.
It's because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just throwing stuff at the wall and sees what he writes.
Another thing that the picking up of the master's coin or ring tooth was just something in case we need it, but whatever.
So I'm actually pretty okay with maybe letting some other creatives. The leaker does say proven creatives. Like, it's not like they're grabbing randoms. Apparently,
Exactly.
They're treating this like royalty. They're like, this is a big thing. We need to get our best guys on it. And I'm sure Russell would still be in charge. It would just be, they're like, hey, maybe we write an episode. And maybe that gives us 13 episode seasons.
I haven't felt the budget here for the 8. I mean, was the logic meant to be it was 8, but they're more expensive, or was it just 8's the new normal?
What I didn't realize was that the 60th specials weren't part of the Disney deal. So that was just BBC money.
Right.
So they made those, again, maybe they gave it more because David Tennant's a proven force and it was like, it's coming back. But there is no quality difference between those 3 specials and any other episode. If anything, the specials look bigger. Like Wild Blue Yonder, they did that whole green screen section, which didn't look perfect at times, but that's fucking ambitious, and they went for it.
I would be fine if Russell was booted and someone else got to come in. And
because it's not going to get worse.
It's not going to get worse. It can only stay this shit.
We either cancel it, it stays the same shit, or we try something new,
and then it's somehow better.
It's cancelled or shit.
Because I would say the tone would be now is like, if we could spitball this for a few minutes, is how can Doctor Who work in the modern era? It's been working roughly since the 60s. There's been some times off here and there, but it's managed to make a connection with people.
Is there any comparable show running at the moment?
Sure, there's the most obvious thing in the world, like Rick and Morty, I guess. Is
a cartoon.
Yeah, but still.
Because that's the weird thing. It's like, there's pretty much nothing that I can think of like this show. And also, it's a stupidly expensive show to make because you have to remake everything per episode.
Right. It's why it would almost work as an adult animation, because you could, even though that would be expensive, but yeah.
You wouldn't have to remake sets like you do currently for every single episode because it's episodic, like everything's different. Whereas the way they saved money back in the 70s with the 3rd Doctor popping out, it was all on Earth. It was all Earth-based, all that stuff. You get a little bit of the similar with 2005. It was all on Earth or above Earth. So you get multiple Earth-based stories, which saves you a bunch of budget.
That was just the budget stuff, yeah.
And they do build a lot of wacky sets.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they reuse them. But like that's the thing, is like, I don't know how you would really save it apart from doing interesting stories again. Because the weird thing, actually, the things that resonated with people, like Mr. Ring-a-Ding and Dugadoo, weren't what Russell was banking on. He was banking on the Mrs. Flood mystery because he's a 60-year-old man that doesn't understand TikTok.
I would say then you just need to cut down to like it's cut, which is what they fucking did in 2005. They cut it down to its bare core. They even put him in a plain outfit and said, right, what is this? It's the relationship between these 2 people and it's the time traveling, and he gave him the whole I'm the last of my kind thing, which is an amazing trick, but it's one trick.
You mean I can't just do that again in 2025?
I would rather it be, I've brought back Gallifrey.
But they hate me or something.
Yeah, or it's just, or just have that be the element which Moffat got back to doing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he is the Rebel Time Lord or whatever.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how War Between the Land and the Sea goes.
I think that is, yeah.
Because we've seen the trailer. It looks like HBO. It looks like television.
Yeah, but
it's
then
interesting.
Stupid name. I think going forward, though, I'd say you just need to strip this right. I know it's easier than done. Strip it down to its fundamental core. Make it a little bit freakier. Keep the character stuff a bit more juicy, because the past 2 seasons, there's been nothing there between the Doctor and his companions, or the Doctor and anyone.
Yeah, don't worry so much about hype moments that you think are actually going to be good, and just make good TV.
Well, that's it, because virality will happen, naturally.
Yeah, you cannot predict the internet, so stop trying.
It's like they can't even predict what songs will go off on TikTok.
Yeah.
There's no formula for it. It's just people find that 6-7 seconds and they loop that shit. People decide what's popular. At the start of this year, would adolescents have been on everyone's bingo card for being the big talked about show?
True.
No. Amazon's over here going, why is Wheel of Time not the big talk about? It's a known property. So people will decide what's big no matter what you do. It's word of mouth ultimately.
Yeah.
So if you just make this a little bit freakier, a little bit scarier, I mean, what's the most liked episodes? Blink,
Yeah.
the gas mask stuff. They're the ones people talk about.
Well, that's what Moffat's good at, taking something that isn't spooky and making it spooky.
Exactly. I know, just drop the ball big time, and I do think we need to go back to formula. And I know this is really controversial. I know it would never happen. Just a full fucking reboot. Do it. But no, I know they could never.
Yeah, I think that would do more harm than good. Well, as of time of recording, there's apparently going to be a big BBC official announcement, not the CBeebies one. They're going to actually tell us something, but maybe that is the fact that that deal is stuck and they need to get that over the line before they...
Does that mean that this current Doctor Who would then just move to Amazon?
I don't know how the rights work. Yeah, I don't know whether Disney owned the streaming rights or whether they actually put money into production, but we'll find out. But yeah, so we might have to do a follow-up of just like, oh my God, Doctor Who saved?
Yeah.
That'll be the thumbnail. You wait. But yes, thank you very much. We'll see you for actually good Doctor Who when we start talking about Series 1.
Get excited. Doctor Who is destroyed, and Russell's there going, I watched it happen. I made it happen.
It was all one big cyclical thing. You brought it back.
Yeah.
I brought it back and I can kill it.
Yeah, that's it. Please don't forget to subscribe to the official Berg and Beard YouTube channel.